Hi, Tuppence. How are you?
Hey, I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. How's your past few 9, 10 months been going?
Yeah, pretty much the same as everyone else's, kind of very up and down. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's interesting how adaptable we are because I feel suddenly very used to it, and maybe I mean it's a great thing because you sort of keep your mental health in check gradually, I think, but also it's quite a scary thing that this is the new normal. But hopefully things are starting to look up. I know we're a long way off, but
Yeah, the talk of the vaccine, the several vaccines is
yes.
hopeful. I think
And
we're all.
I'm a big fan of Dolly Parton being behind one of them.
Yes,
Really happy.
I know, who knew? But she's giving us all so much hope.
Thanks, Dolly.
Exactly. So we're here to talk about Mank and your role in Mank. I thought you were so exceptional in it. There's a speech at the end. I don't want to say any spoilers to people who haven't seen it yet, but I was there and I was like shouting on my screen. I'm like, yes, Sarah, yes.
Yeah, she has her moment at the end. She kind of takes the reins back, so to speak.
Right. So for those that don't know, tell them about Mank and a little bit about Sarah.
Yeah, so Mank is the latest film directed by David Fincher. It was written by his late father, and it's been a passion project of theirs for a long time. I think David's been trying to make it for many years now, and he was waiting to kind of bring it to the right studio to make it in the way that he had always hoped to make it, which was in black and white. And I think it found a really perfect home at Netflix. And Netflix is so great at letting filmmakers really go away and do their thing. So the story focuses on Herman Mankiewicz, who wrote Citizen Kane for Orson Welles, and it really covers that golden age of Hollywood, the kind of glamour, the politics, the run up to his finishing the final draft of Citizen Kane before handing it over to Orson Welles, because I wasn't aware, and I don't know how many people are really.
Right.
Maybe I was ignorant in that fact that that Herman Mankiewicz wrote the screenplay. I think I'd always assumed it was Orson Welles in my head, so I didn't really know much about this character. And Gary Oldman plays Herman, who was a really exceptional kind of wit and brain. He was a really quick thinking life and soul of the party, but it also he sort of paid the price in the end because he had a sort of troubled latter few years and really struggled with alcoholism. So it covers all of that.
Mm-hmm. And so, what was it like collaborating with Gary on your work together on building that relationship?
Yeah, it was really great actually. And what was really nice and what's quite a luxury now in a filming schedule is to have a rehearsal period beforehand. So we had 2 weeks to rehearse. So I flew to Los Angeles and sat with Gary and David and Eric, who was helping us with the script. And it was like that was the perfect period to sort of establish that relationship and to get to know Gary. And I read a really great book. It's actually called Mank. It's not what the film's based on, but it's by a writer called Richard Merriman, which was a really great source to learn more about Sarah, because there wasn't a whole lot written about her, and that was a really great kind of window into their personal life and how they met, and her kind of relatively modest beginnings from a very traditional kind of Jewish family in Chicago, then moving to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood and through the 30s to the 50s. So that was really great for me to kind of read a lot more about that. But Gary was really generous and really fun. He's really silly. So he's not one of those. Well, maybe he is on other projects, but he's not one of those actors who's like so focused on a method or anything. He's very much himself in between takes. So that was always really nice, and it kind of makes you feel safe and calm.
So I'm curious more about your research into Sarah and what you learned about her in that book and how you went about crafting your portrayal.
Yeah, so I mean, really the greatest source of information was David, because he knows this subject matter better than anyone else, and he knows characters inside out, especially Herman. Um, so it was really great just talking it over with him, his kind of take on Sarah, and his take on what it is also to be the wife of a writer, because of course his father was a writer and wrote this script,
Right.
and he said, you know, it's a big thing to take on, and if you don't expect that from your life, if, you know, like Sarah did, she meets someone who she falls in love with, who's completely charismatic and fun and is offering her this kind of perfect life, then I don't think she realized the kind of downside of that she moves away from her family, that yes, she goes to these huge parties and meets all of these glamorous film stars, and she goes to Hurst Castle and spends the weekend there, but then also she has to deal with seeing her husband kind of buckle under the weight of that, because part of his job was to observe and to be at the center of those parties, so that he could watch his world in action, I suppose. And so much of the politics of the script and the politics of Citizen Kane came from the world around him at the time, came from these kind of the studios engineering fake news reels and all of those kind of things in order to influence the election. So it was sort of part of his job, but it meant that he didn't spend as much time with his family. And I think as a result, he always felt a huge he felt indebted to her, I think, and she was really the voice of reason. She was the person that he really listened to, I think, out of everyone. Really grounded him in the end.
For sure. And you were mentioning the big party scene at the estate. That's such a master class in acting from everyone, yourself, everyone included. What was it like filming that scene?
That was really fun. I think we filmed that scene probably over 2 or 3 days. It was quite a long one to shoot, because there were so many elements, and you're in this huge kind of replica of the dining room at Hurst Castle, which I then went to after shooting to go and look at it. It was a really great, really accurate representation of that room. That was really cool to kind of be shooting, you know, next to all of these landmarks that are constantly popping up in the story. But yeah, that was really great. It was sort of one of the first days that we were all together as a big ensemble cast. So not only was it great to sort of, for me to sit there and watch all of these actors that I've admired over the years, like these little, you know, master classes. When you're on camera, you can watch them and be like, oh wow, that's so cool. But so it was just really good fun, because every time there's a group of actors together in a room, and there's, you know, there's usually time off, because they're filming one corner of the room and then they move around to the next, and you know, you always have your moment where you're kind of like cracking jokes with the others on the other side of the camera. That was really nice. We kind of like bonded as a cast that day.
Oh, very nice. Do you have some other memorable moments that really stayed with you from filming or downtime?
I spent a lot of time making up limericks with Gary. That's what I very clearly, because he was like in his element, because there was a lot of Brit actors on this project. That just kind of, it just worked out like that. I'm not really sure why. And yeah, so he's been living in the States for a long time, so I think it was nice for him to sort of like, oh, these are my guys, like everyone's coming to England to visit. So all of those kind of English traditions, you know, like slipped back in, and everyone kind of cracking jokes. But yeah, I remember my first day on set was quite intense, because I hadn't experienced like work. I mean, I'd worked with David over kind of Zoom when I'd auditioned with him, but I hadn't kind of been on set. That it was the second day of the shoot, and I'd already heard that, you know, they shot the first scene, which took about a day, because it was a long scene with lots of people in it, and then they had to reshoot the whole thing because the lighting wasn't right, because of they were still kind of getting the black and white, you know. So it was so that was the first thing I heard. And then I was like, at the end of the day, and we didn't have much time, the light was going, and I had my first sort of scene, which was just a phone call scene. But then you know, it was my first experience of doing multiple takes. I mean, you know, lots of takes, you know, David, I think, is famous for doing that. You can easily do, you know, 20, 30 takes, and that's quite normal. But the fantastic thing about that is that it's really quick. It was much quicker than I thought it was. Like I think I had expected it to go on for, you know, a week doing one
Yeah.
scene, like getting it right. But it's actually a great way to work because it's like he eliminates any time to overthink or overanalyze yourself. So it's almost like he keeps the camera rolling and you go again, and then by the time you've blinked, then 30 takes have gone by, and it doesn't feel that you're kind of, it feels like you're just
Yeah.
slowly tweaking something. So I really enjoyed working that way.
Very nice. So you've had some amazing scene partners over the years: Imelda Staunton, Benedict Cumberbatch, David Cronenberg, who we all love here in Canada. So who have been some of your most memorable scene partners?
Well, David Cronenberg was definitely a big one for me because I loved his films growing up. And what was really cool about that is that when I was shooting that film, which was The Disappearance at Clifton Hill, he was acting in it, which was really nice because then it kind of, we were both just actors together on set. So we were both kind of just killing time. And it was really, he was really generous as an actor because it wasn't like he very easily stepped out of the director's mode, I suppose. He's very good at doing that. So it just felt like you were sharing a scene with another actor. And then I worked with David's son, Brandon, the year after that. And then on both of those films, David's daughter, Brandon's sister, Caitlin, was shooting as a photographer on both those films. So it was really cool. It became this sort of family affair.
And so everyone's going to be watching Mank come this Friday. What have you been watching lately that you've really liked?
Oh, what have I been watching? I watched, actually I rewatched, because it's one of my favorite things that I've seen this year, A Portrait of a Lady on Fire, the film that was out. Wow, so beautiful. Yeah, I think I really thought it was a masterpiece. So I rewatched that recently. I'm really looking forward to watching over Christmas. I want to watch The Queen's Gambit and The Crown because I need to catch up on those. And I was watching a German series called Dark, which was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Also on Netflix, yeah.
Yes, also on Netflix, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Tuppence. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely day. Keep up the amazing work, the amazing art that you provide. Thank you.